episode. Everyone has I am Emily Longretta, the Senior TV Features Editor for Variety, and I am very excited to be here with, first of all, the golden couple, Gerry and Theresa. And the amazing executive producers and showrunners, Bennett Graebner, Claire Freeland, and Jason Ehrlich. Thank you guys so much for being here. Gerry, I feel like I have to start with you and Theresa and talk a little about what this whirlwind of an adventure has been like.
Well, you see the results. I mean, what could be better than that?
That's right.
It was a fantastic journey. It had excitement, it had energy, it had a lot of tears, I'll admit to that. But it was awesome, it was wonderful.
Yeah, I would say it was magical from the moment I stepped out of that limo. And it just continued to be. It was really so exciting to be in that entire journey with Gerry and with all these women. So I loved every minute of it. Yeah.
How are you guys feeling now that this is over and there's a bit of you can kind of take a breath now and you finished your first season of Golden Bachelor? Really great, guys. You're feeling really great.
It's surreal. It's surreal seeing the two of you up here, thinking back to when we first met. Gerry, I remember the first Zoom, couldn't figure out how to get the camera on. And just to be here with the two of you now. But I have one question. I heard a rumor that the Golden Rose was lost. Is
Oh,
it
no.
true? You have it? Okay, I don't want that to end up in like a case in the ABC lobby or anything.
I was on my Mac computer the other night.
Bennett's starting rumors here. Claire, how has it been? How do you feel now that this is over and you kind of get a breather?
It's so rewarding. I mean, hearing the reaction when they walk out into the room is how we feel. And I mean, we do this because, I do this because seeing people fall in love and seeing this happen it makes all of the hours and all of the work worth it. So to see it actually happen for two deserving people is the best reward ever. And the fact that they're now going to get married, I mean, it's the whole purpose and the whole mission of the show and why I feel it's been so popular for so long is we're all looking for our person to share our life with. So I'm very touched by it. I just am so happy for you both.
You know what, that's the feeling that we got the entire production, that you truly wanted us to find love. Like it was really about the heart and really, and I would say that to so many people, that they wanted us to be happy. They wanted that true connection. So, yeah, thank you.
Jason, I want to ask you about that because there is we just spoke backstage and how incredible it was to see this journey from beginning to end and how well the season was receptive. So what do you kind of credit that to?
Well, I love what you said, Theresa. It's like you found love. I mean, that's what this is all about. Like this whole experience, and it has been for a long time. And I tell everybody, we have a meeting with, for anyone who's on the show, we'll have kind of a producers meeting the day after the first rose ceremony. And we'll sit there and they'll say like, I believe that you can find love through this entire experience. And they'll look at me like I'm crazy, and then I'll say, you're gonna come to me, and it could be tomorrow, it could be a couple weeks from now, but you'll be on a date, and you'll come off that date, and you'll say, oh my God, Jason, I just had the best day, it feels so amazing, they're so incredible, and I'll go, I told you, that's how it works, and to watch both of you, it was just after that very first date at the diner, and you're both sitting there going, oh my God, like, this actually could work, and that is the most incredible thing for us as producers of the show. That's what the environment that we try to create the space for that to happen. And there's nothing more rewarding than when it does happen. And there's nothing more rewarding than like planning your wedding in a couple of weeks and being there to celebrate you as a couple. So the question is, how do I am over the moon that we could have done this, and to start where we were, in Indiana in March, where it was cold, and it wasn't just cold outside, like you could feel, the emptiness And to see you now, and you know, we were just together over the weekend with your families, and to see the fullness of your lives now, it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. So, yeah, it's great.
Yeah. I think I owe Jason a huge debt of gratitude because from early on, he was the guy that always pulled me up by my bootstraps when I thought things weren't going right. He became a very good friend and a supporter, and he did, from the beginning, tell me that, Gerry, if you follow your heart, if you follow the procedure, the process, you will come out of this at the other end finding the love of your life. And that's exactly what happened.
And I'm going to send you the bill.
Yeah. You haven't paid the last invoice.
Theresa, I want to ask you about watching this back. Have you guys watched back together? Have you watched it back separately? Or you haven't watched any?
Separately. So actually, I watched it with my family, my daughter, her husband, my 3 grandsons in New Jersey, and I was horrified every time. Oh my God, what do I look like? But I would get over that, and the next night I would watch it alone. So, you know, Gerry and I were talking on the phone all the time. So he prepared me for things, but there's some things you just couldn't prepare me for. But, you know, there's some things, yeah, I had to just, I cried over a few things, but no, not that I didn't know anything that was going to happen, but it was a little hard sometimes.
Of course.
Because I love these women. I loved all of them, and I still do.
And Gerry, I know early on in the season you and I spoke, and you had said the most challenging part was the rose ceremonies every week, saying goodbye to people is just heartbreaking. What is the toughest part to watch back? Is that also the toughest part to watch back?
Yeah, without a doubt. And I've said it often, you know, you form good friendships, good relationships, good connections, and you work really hard to do it because you want to be open to every possibility that's in front of you. And then at the end of the day, when you know you have to send some of those women home, it was just soul crushing. But bear in mind, that's what we sign up for, and there's no other way to do it.
I want to share just this 5 minutes ago when you were watching the show. It was playing in backstage where we were, and we were kind of watching the moments. And when it got to the rose ceremony, you were sitting there, and he stood up and visibly went, "Oh, I can't watch this." And still to this day, it affects you, and it was this far removed, still so hard for you to watch that moment. It speaks to who you are, Gerry.
For the producers, I want to talk a little about planning a wedding special and the difference between that versus doing the season. And how early on, I mean, after they got engaged, of course, how early on were you guys having the discussion with, can we film the wedding?
Was it the next day, I believe?
Yeah.
Okay. We have a lot to do because it's coming up. It's January 4th. And so I think the first question is, we have an incredible team, and we get together with our team and we think, okay, what is this going to look like and how are we going to put this together? And we hit the ground running, and we still are. I mean, we were just shooting stuff for it on Saturday, and we are moving fast and furious to make this really a celebration of the both of you, and a celebration of the franchise as well.
How are you guys feeling about having a TV wedding? Was that always, when they asked you, was that always a yes? Or did you guys think, maybe not, maybe we want to do it just us?
Think about it.
Oh yeah, that wasn't always the plan.
I don't know, we
No.
talked about.
No, we had to think about it, and it really wasn't the original plan to do that, but when we really thought hard about it, we said there's so many people who have been affected by this show, and we wanted to bring them along with the culmination of it and bring them into it and really still try to make it this very intimate experience, but then bring them into this intimate experience. We don't feel like we want to just drop all these people who are so affected by the show. I never expected all of this.
For myself, and I think with Theresa, we feel a little bit of a responsibility. As the season wore on, we realized that we're so many people connecting with our journey and what we were trying to accomplish that, I mean, we've gotten letters and emails and direct messages and so forth from people who find hope in what we've done. So the wedding is just kind of the payday proof that it works, that it is what it is.
Yeah, definitely. For the producers, I want to ask you guys what lessons you learned during this that you will bring into future seasons of Bachelor, Bachelorette, Bachelor in Paradise, and Golden Bachelor or Bachelorette, et cetera, et cetera.
I think for me, everyone who we met during the casting of this show and who eventually appeared on the show was one thing, and that was authentically themselves. And it's so refreshing, it's so delightful to watch. I think it's a big part of why it's resonating so much with people. So for me personally, looking ahead to subsequent seasons of Bachelor or Bachelorette is just more than ever encouraging everyone who appears on the program to be their most authentic self and to really take some lessons from the women who were on this show, who were so vulnerable. All of them had a story. Everybody was so generous with the sharing and telling of their stories, no matter how difficult they were, and they often were. Everybody had experienced some form of loss, and everybody was so open about it. And so just how the audience has responded to that and has really how it's really resonated with them. I think that that's something I'm just going to be encouraging at all times with everyone who comes on the show, even at a younger life stage.
Did either of you want to chime in?
My first lesson on the show was in casting, and we'd get off these Zooms and I would like hug my family more, because you realize that nothing is a guarantee, and I just have become a little bit more, and Gary will tell you this, take every opportunity to tell the people in your life that you love them, because you never know when you won't be able to. And so that was not just Gary's message, that we heard again and again and again through these casting meetings. And so that was the first part. And then we continued learning how to make this show, and it was a real experience. We've all made the show for a very long time, the regular Bachelor and all that. But this was totally different, and how we really embraced these people and their stories and what they have to share, what they have to tell. It was really enlightening for all of us. So it was a learning experience, like doing what we know how to do through a completely different lens.
Yeah, I want to talk a little about the editing and producing side of doing a show that is such a short turnaround. Obviously with The Bachelor, it's a bit longer of a turnaround, and Golden Bachelor, it's a month of shooting and then it's on TV very quickly after. For you guys, how was that process? Can you talk a little about how that, I assume it was a bit challenging and different from what you're used to.
They're getting married in like 6 weeks. So these are people who really know what they want, and they're ready to let's get on with it. And so there were times that it was happening fast and furious, and times that we wish we had a little bit more time. But they, you were you stayed open to making the decisions that you needed to make until you had made your mind up, and then you'd made your mind up, and you were ready to move on.
I think things really moved quickly, and in part because there was so much depth to Gary and the women who were on the show. Jane Fonda, who's, by the way, still kicking at 85, said that we can't control necessarily the length of our lives, but we can control the depth of our lives. And you really felt that on the show. And I would hope that the men and women who come on The Bachelor and The Bachelorette take that lesson too, that it's really about the depth.
Yeah. And with our age, we were also aware of how precious time is. We're much, at this age, we're much wiser. And okay, not saying we're not all wise, but we really do. That's more critical to us, and we realize how much you need to spend every moment living the life that you want.
How do your families feel about doing the wedding on TV? Are they all happy about it?
Yeah, they're pretty thrilled.
Excited to be on TV?
But they're thrilled that we're getting married.
Yeah.
The fact that it's on TV is just something, an added element to it. But no, like us, they really feel that this is an obligation to these viewers who got so, involved with it and who cared so much. watch, and it wasn't just people who direct messaged us or emailed us, but like people that we met in stores and on the street, and we just realized how far-reaching this was and how it affected so many people. So I think our family is just so thrilled to make that happen for the viewers and just extend it.
My oldest daughter isn't exactly sentimental. And the last time I saw her, and it was in a group setting, and she gave me the nicest hug, and she had tears in her eyes. And she goes, Dad, I'm just so glad to see you this happy. Because she watched Theresa and I spend time together in a family setting, and it was really a nice moment.
Can we assume that many people from the season will be at the wedding? I know it's a kind of a strange question because in real life you wouldn't really invite exes to a wedding, but I feel like in Bachelor Nation the rules don't apply.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what the plan is.
Yes. Well, we would like all the women to be there. It depends on whether or not their schedules will allow. Of course, so we'd love every woman to be there. They are all near and dear to our hearts. We keep in touch with them. Yes.
In spite of the fact that they were all dating the same guy. Given that it's weird to get over that.
I'm fine with it.
They,
And Theresa doesn't really understand it.
there is this feeling among everyone who was a part of this that they were a part of something special. And the way that it's resonated, and it really feels like a celebration for all of that. And everyone feels grateful to be a part of this thing because it's really connected with a lot of people. So.
And I think right before this, a press release went out that this was the most watched finale since 2020 season. Pilot Pete, I want to say, is the finale. Which, can we give them a round of applause? Because that's great. Garrett, I want to ask you how that feels, and if it surprises you at all that making such an adjustment and a change from the normal format resulted like this.
It's great. It is a little surprising. We didn't know how viewers were going to respond. In fact, I don't think we knew how we were going to respond. I remember the first night, we wondered what it would feel like when we saw Gerry kiss a woman for the first time. We see that a lot. You know, we stand 10 feet, 15 feet away from young men and women all the time, making out. It feels a little weird, a little creepy. But there was something on the first night about thinking about Dad here and wondering what that was going to feel like. And we were all watching. And I remember the moment. Theresa, you grabbed the back of his neck. You went in for it. And I don't know if you heard us, we erupted. Like, we were so loud that we had to quiet ourselves down. And I think that was the moment we realized this could work. Like, we loved it.
Yeah, I just went for it.
Yeah, we did.
I think too, it's what's so exciting about it, and I'm not that surprised, because I just had a feeling that people would respond to this. People have been asking for it for a very long time. I think it's really a testament to Gerry and the women who are on the show. But I think it's just the messaging of just normalize dating at any age, being desirable at any age, still having urges and being a sexual creature at any age is, I think, something that we should be listening to. I think that's a big part of why it's so successful and people are really responding to it, and I think it's brilliant, and I'm thrilled. And I hope we see more people at this age.
I just heard in comments that you made me not afraid to get old. Seeing all these women, I'm embracing getting old now. It's great.
Yeah, are we looking at aging wrong? Because I feel like I saw it as like this kind of slow, inexorable kind of decline. And then I learned a lot, you know, from both of you and the other women on the show. That's not what it has to be, you know. And we talk about, as storytellers, we talk a lot about third acts, right? The first act, the second act, and the third act. That third act can be wonderful. And you've shown me that, I think shown everyone that, so thank you.
I just keep going back to that kiss, and you looked at me and you went, it's not that bad.
Is that what I
Pretty
said?
cool, yeah.
It was really beautiful, that moment. It really was.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes, he went for it.
because you guys brought it up, obviously there was that wonder of what will the fantasy suites be like when it's on a Golden Bachelor season. Were you guys prepared to also feel that for the fantasy suites? Were you guys like, do we need to change something? Because of course it's a little different this
For
time
the
around.
knockin' boots, Gary?
I want to know the answer to this question as well.
I do too. I don't know, what you think?
I wasn't surprised again. Of course they're gonna wanna go to the fantasy suites. I mean, like every show that we do, the fantasy suites is your decision. Whatever you choose to do in the fantasy suites is up to you. It does allow you time without cameras, without other people, an opportunity to really look at one another without the noise. I've never had any doubt we would be having folks wanting to go into the fantasy suite.
In fact, I think it was important to us that we didn't change that. Just because you're in your 60s, your 70s, doesn't mean that those desires go away. I mean, Joan, who was on the show, was quite eloquent about this. She said, I got to a certain age and I felt invisible, and I was only there to service others, right? As a mother, a grandmother, a caretaker, and her own desires weren't important to anyone. And that's just not, that's not how we should be looking at people in their 60s and 70s. So back to the knocking boots, Gary.
Just a joke.
She said it best, she knocked my boots off.
We heard that expression a lot. A lot of knocking boots.
And now we can't stop saying.
I know, we can't.
And I've never heard it before, but I might as well use it.
Teresa, I want to ask you, because Gary's had a bit more time to get used to the attention on him.
Yeah.
And I assume it would be a little bit difficult and a little bit different for you getting used to it. So what has been the toughest part with you being now in the spotlight and kind of being, people asking you all of these kind of intrusive questions like I'm asking you?
Being able to go to a store and return something.
Exactly.
I get stopped. At the beginning, oh, I knew that was her. My son said that was her. Look, that's her. That's her. That's her. I said, she didn't care about me like a month ago. She didn't care when I came in the store. So it's kind of like, it's bizarre to all of a sudden step into this world. Yeah, it's so different. But then, I'm making a lot of friends, new friends, who are telling me about their stories, and I'm enjoying it. I think it's wonderful. It's been great. People have been really wonderful.
Gary, what would you tell the next Golden Bachelor? What advice would you give him?
It sounds trite, but be yourself. Even in the face of someone trying to convince you to do something different, insist on being yourself, because in that way you can get to the end of the journey knowing that you've done the very best you can.
That's great advice.
And Gary, you were always yourself, and thank you for that.
Yeah.
I know many people, when I was telling friends that I was doing this, were asking me, well, are you going to ask if there's going to be a Golden Bachelorette? So of course I have to ask. Have asks gone out yet? Is there any?
I hear Faith, I hear Susan, I hear Leslie.
Hey, wow, there's a lot of suggestions.
Yeah.
Joan. Don't stop.
Nothing would make us happier. Stay tuned.
When you are having these conversations and you hear an audience reaction like that, and I know a lot of people have asked you, do you think choosing one from this batch of women would be ideal, or do you think choosing a fresh woman would be better? Is that right? A new woman, no one has met yet.
There are so many incredible, we heard so many different names, there are so many incredible women from this season that it would be really hard not to.
Yeah.
There are just so many, and you can picture what that would look like with several different women, and it's all exciting and fun, so, yeah, that's...
I'm here
very
for Golden
occasional
Paradise.
answer. What was that?
I'm here for Golden Paradise.
Oh my God. What a great, oh,
We're ready for Golden Paradise.
that is genius.
What changes would you bring to the flagship from maybe some of the changes that you put into this season? Or any of you that would like to answer? I stumped you all.
Yeah.
We kind of touched on it earlier, but really I think there's a renewed kind of interest from the three of us to find young men and women to be on The Bachelor and The Bachelorette who have something to say, who have lived a life, and who aren't afraid to be authentically themselves.
Interesting.
Which is what we felt from you.
Wow.
Did you want to ask something?
You know, the way that
Yeah.
when this show, I think the way it is best is when the three of us are terrified because you're watching this
That
journey.
happens a lot.
But we have a saying for it. We call it ride the lightning. And when things are happening and you're making decisions and we're following your lead is when it is really just great. You're making impossible decisions. There are people that you care about and you know that you have to break someone's heart and that's part of it. You're falling in love with people as we go. And so it's our job to just constantly maneuver and allow that to happen, which is hard, but it is for all of us thrilling and exciting and so fun to watch happen. There are times where the three of us are in tears, the three of us are high-fiving, the three of us are scared out of our minds of like, how is this gonna work? But it is the most exciting thing that can happen, you know, as we're letting this story just unfold in front of us.
I think we can learn a lot from the people who come on our show. I think there's a bit of an easy slam around people who maybe come on reality or this genre of programming, and I think it's just that. I think it's an easy slam. I think that the vulnerability that it requires to come on a program like this and expose yourself and to share your stories, we can learn a lot from the people on this show. I learned a lot from the people on Golden Bachelor, and I will continue to be open and receptive to the same on the seasons going forward.
Well, before we wrap, I mean, it kind of segues perfectly. Gary, what did you learn about yourself during this season?
I cry too much. I guess the thing I learned is I've always tried to compartmentalize problems or opportunities. And I was able to do that almost to an extreme. And it served me well. You know, I'd have my Theresa box, and I'd have my Joan box, and I'd have my Leslie box, and with each of those people, they were the only person on earth when I was with them. But then I'd put them in that box and put them away and go to the next one. So I guess learning that about myself was a big revelation.
Yeah, that's a really good thing to have in this experience, I would assume.
Yeah.
We haven't always seen that in Bachelor Nation, so. Teresa, how about you? What did you learn about yourself during
Yes,
this?
I always knew that I was a very open-minded person, but I learned how I could really take a step back and allow him to explore it with every other woman and really, you know, cheer them on and say, great, I want you to go on a date, because I really wanted Gerry to find the right person. And I didn't only wanted it to be me if it was right for it to be me. And so, yeah, I learned that I could do that and allow that process to happen. I think that's important when you're going into a process like this. It's difficult, but necessary.
I think that's probably the first time you guys have ever heard that kind of answer from someone on this show. In my opinion, like, I wanted the other women to go on a date too. It's not something you hear much.
It does happen. It does happen.
Yeah. I want to end by just saying congratulations to all of you, because this has been such an incredible season.
We talked a little bit about the first kiss. Can we end it with a kiss? What do you think, Gary? Teresa? Come on. Give us one for the road.
Producing on stage. Love it.
No tongue. That's pretty authentic. Get a room.